one, there is a predisposition coming from your family. And then now there is an environment that enables you to go further.
Exactly. Now, after second sem, I chose my tuition. So when it was time for exams, I came to my senses. I said, what am I going to tell Dad when he asked me for exam, results and stuff? So I was there with a lot of magazine. I called my father and I told him, Daddy, you know what? I don't like this course that I'm doing here. I need to do something business related in a different university. He said, okay, pack your stuff. I'm going to send the car to pick you. Come home and we talk about it. So I came home, we talked about it. My father's never liked Makyeli ever, so he told me, look for private university and we see what we can do there. So I went and I got a UCU, Okono. Yeah.
Someone would say fire to fire.
Man. No, but UCU didn't come close to Mkozi. Okay. Yeah.
But my hardest party friends are from those two universities.
Yeah. So you can see that training in life so when I tell you I was in survival mode for those last 5 years, Yeah.
So you joined UCU?
I joined UCU. The culture shock was ridiculous. Because first of all, just being on campus, if you were on campus and even mention the word cigarette, it's like you had killed a pope. It was so weird. I was like, I was in a hall, so I would want to drink and smoke, but then I would be like, these chicks are going to smell it on me, and stuff like that. So I devised in second sem. First of all, I'm in a new university, but now the people who are with me in first year are now in second year, I'm in first year. So eventually...
So by this point in time, you're basically addicted, you can't do without a drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, it had formed that mindset that at a particular time, I need to be indulging in alcohol. Or my system needed to have alcohol in it. Or even a cigarette. So... I started hanging out with my friends who are in second year. Now they started telling me finding way, because you couldn't come to hall past 10 p.m. Yet they would be having house parties or room parties, and I'm like, I'm not missing the fun. Me, I had so much FOMO. Those are the days of FOMO. So eventually I started missing classes. Again, just like Nkozi. I started missing classes.
Because you're hungover?
Sorry?
Because you're hungover?
Yeah. Or you would party till 6 in the morning. You'd have a house party up to 3, then you go to the bar, you leave the bar at 10 a.m.
I respect those people who were with in high school and they'll go out drinking, come back at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
At 7 a.m. in class. I respect those people.
And you see, that's the thing. There are people who actually normalize that. I hear people saying, I go and drink my things till 6 a.m. At 7, I'm in office smart. There's nothing cool or healthy about that. Your body needs rest. You need to be top-notch to be productive in a company. Me, if I hear that, I fire you immediately. What are you talking about? Nonsense.
Fire half of advertising.
Now, let's even leave that space. It's insane, yeah. So I started missing classes. But basically, I just kept partying. Because now, I kid you not, I reached a point and I sat down and I said, Che, this is the end of the road. Daddy, it's going to kill you. Don't even try. I was in UCU for 3 years, but I wasn't paying tuition. I would pay hostel fee and just be there. My dad would give me tuition, I wouldn't pay it.
You would drink it?
Of course. But tell me to donate it now to that. No. Drink it.
You see, the things that you're describing, for me, I had the privilege of never touching my fees. My mother told me I had too many ideas between home and the bank. I've come up with something. But what you're describing is not psychologically normal.
Yeah.
Have you had the opportunity in retrospect to look down and to look back and say, my mind was not working?
No, of course. When I was writing this book, there have been some parts and I would reach and I'm like, but Cherry, no, honestly, what? While you're fachi, do you understand?
Yeah.
No, but it's
like addiction takes over the functionality of your mind.
Yeah, because it affects your decision making. You understand? You start to dilute or to water down the gravity or the effects of the consequences of your actions. Because I would sit back and say, okay, I'm not going to do this course in it. I'll do a retake. Because this used to allow you to carry your retakes without repeating. So I would say, I'll do this retake. I'll carry it on. It's okay. You understand? When you get to the next sem, I don't even register for the retake.
Did you ever graduate, by the way?
I did.
Even as we speak?
Just know me. When you see that word grace on my cover, my friend, my middle name Kisakye is not for nothing.
So if I'm to hurry this conversation up, where was your turning point? Because honestly, looking at you, you don't look like a drunkard. You don't look like you're addicted.
Again, grace. Yeah. But my turning point comes after the next phase, which was after leaving school, university. Eventually, my father found out because I was, during holidays, you go home. In third year, second sem, you can see a person who's preparing a dissertation. Surely, I did not look like I was on a dissertation plan. I was leaving home at 4 p.m., coming home at 6 a.m., sleeping.
Which supposed course were you supposed to do?
Bachelors of Being Around.
BBA.
Standard.
Continue.
So I would leave home. Like my dad really saw this one is not studying. So someday I was walking out of home and I was going out to meet a few friends of mine to party. And then my dad comes in. And then he comes out and he looks at me and he says, Rebecca, I want to talk to you for a second. I said, okay. Because he's a very calm person. He's never raised his voice. Not that kind of person.
It's a pilot thing.
Yeah. Never raised his voice. So I walked to the room and he just handed me a paper. And it was my entire transcript from first year. And there were just blanks. The last thing there recorded was first year, first sem. So I had basic computing, so I had basic mathematics, accounting. Everything else was just blanks. They told him, this one is also her first year, first sem. And, he didn't say anything. He just looked at me and it was just the heart in his eyes because he's someone who did everything in his power to give us what we needed. And it just broke my heart in that moment. And he told me, go to your room and think about what you did. I go to my room, I placed the paper on the table and I walked out and I went to drink. I was away from home for like 7 days because I didn't want to face my dad. As I think I told you before, that I don't know how to deal with conflict, and that's something a lot of people who suffer with substance abuse deal with, avoiding conflict. And so eventually I come home after 7 days. I went to my friend's house and we partied the entire week. We partied the entire week. And then eventually on Saturday she told me, Che, go home.
I like such friends.
That's the thing. We tend to indulge so much, we think that it will never come to an end.
Yeah.
Do you understand? We tend to drink so much as if the alcohol is going to get finished.
And then when it does come to an end, you need to recharge.
It's
a vicious cycle.
But the Bible says that in the morning the drunkard says, give me my next what?
Yeah.
My next cup. So your friend says, go back home.
Tells me go back home.
Go face your demons.
And that's the thing. We tend to avoid facing things or confronting things, not knowing that what you do not confront will always
worsen.
Not even worsen, it will always surface. Do you understand? So it's better to deal with it, however terrible it is, deal with it so that it can go away and you move on to the next thing. So I come home and my dad tells me, you're going to Nairobi. I used to love Nairobi so much. It was like my second home, but this time I was going on punishment. You guys, they signed me up into a convent.
Was it Loreto or something?
Loreto is okay. This one was a school Loreto was a high school, right? I know Loreto Convent. Loreto Convent is a high school. It is there. This one was a convent run by Italian fathers, but then they have underprivileged women who work in over their kitchen, in over their what. You guys, they made me wear a dress. The guy's uniform is beautiful. This guy's dress was heavy. It was a blue thing that was like they cut it like this and then they tell you have a belt and tie. It was just so bad. It was so terrible. It was literally like, what's the word I'm looking for? It was like slavery. You sleep at 11, you wake up at 4.
But this was supposed to help you.
It was
in your dad's mind.
In his mind, basically. At this point in life, this one needs a situation that's just going to stretch me.
Looking back,
smack my head.
Do you think the absence of your dad might have affected something?
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. And that's something I always talk about whenever I go to places, especially when I'm invited to teen mentorship spaces. Parents need to be very present in their children's lives. Why? Because if you're not around to feed your child, somebody else will.
Or the child will find something.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't, by feeding, I'm not saying real food. I'm saying, feeding, information, habits, things like that. Whenever you're not with your child, know that they are being fed spiritually, emotionally by somebody else. When your child goes to school, Parents, for how long do parents have their children? They send their children to school. Some schools, kids are supposed to be there by 6 a.m. Then they come home at 6 p.m. They're away from you for 12 hours. You don't know what friends they're interacting with. You don't know what backgrounds they come from.
That's if they're in day school.
Exactly, boarding school. You don't know what your child... Exactly.
I did a calculation that for a working parent with children in boarding school, on average in a year, you spend 21 days with your child.
Can you imagine? No, it's very, very sad. It's a very sad thing.
So have you ever had a conversation with Daddy about that?
About what?
Him not being there and so on.
Not really, because the fact is, one thing I know about my father is he knew.
Yeah, he feels it.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. I could see it in him later on in life. Like he really had reached a point where even his countenance had changed. He felt like he had failed when it came to his child. And it really hurt me so much.
If you're to like, let's say you're going back. Let's just say this, that going back maybe several years ago. This is you now knowing what you now know. What would you tell a Solid Jamaa who is in your dad's position on how to raise up Becky, how to raise up Che and the others? He has to bring food on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to work.
Right.
And the work necessitates for him to be away from you guys, away from mom and so on.
Yeah.
But going back several years ago,
the hardest equation for a man to balance is the equation between paying bills and paying attention.
So going back to a few years back, and maybe if you're given an opportunity to talk to a Solid Jamaa who is in that particular conundrum, what would you advise them, seeing that you are a product of probably that stuff?
Money is important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is time. Time is the most expensive resource that we can ever have, and what you make time for is where your treasure is. If you are in a position where, yes, you have to work and you have children to look after, as you said, the hardest equation to balance is that of time and
paying attention.
Paying bills and paying attention. Okay. You need to find what is more important to you. Your children are more important to you. Your job will fire you one day, but your children will never stop being your kids.
And at the end of the day, you'll find that out one way or another.
Yep. During the lockdown, there are people who are dealing with mental illness because they were now stuck in a house with people that they were trying to avoid. These people you see in bars, respected people, seated in a bar, he's beautiful, he has beautiful kids. You ask yourself, but for you in the bar, we know you work in a law firm, you're at the law firm by 8, you leave the bar at 5, for you when I have with your family. Do you understand?
Makes me ask the question, are you fleeing? Are you pursuing?
Exactly. So people in the lockdown were locked up with wives and children, and they didn't know how to act.
Yeah. So I want us to take a short break, but when we come back, I want us to delve deep into the things that people can do, men can be able to do, now that you are in the mental health practice and you are helping several people. I want us to talk about your book and also how we can handle mental health issues after the break. Our vision is that through our work, there will be a raising of a movement of godly, solid, covenant men who know themselves, understand their purpose, and are clear about their worth and responsibility to lead the nation's generations, one man to one son, passing on the authentic blueprint of a God kind of man.
Going up, the rider smoother sliding down. I'm wondering what they did right. They genuinely look satisfied, not a single